All right, so you have your 5 different colors. So I'm starting out in red. We're gonna go through each one of the religions. We'll all have different colors, okay? First one I'm gonna do is red. We're gonna start with Hinduism. At the bottom of our map, we're gonna kind of make like a timeline so you can see which one comes first, and then we're gonna map it, okay? So at the bottom, the oldest religion that we are gonna talk about is Hinduism, okay? Hinduism. And this started about 3000 BC. Okay, with the founder was Krishna. Okay. Hinduism is polytheistic. What does polytheistic mean? What is poly?
Multiple gods.
Multiple. So multiple gods. Okay, so they're going to believe in multiple gods. They believe in a lot of different things. Karma. They believe in karma. So how you, if you act well towards other people, good things are going to happen to you, right? They also have a caste system. So people of more importance and different levels of kind of like, not standards or anything, but like higher, like more important people, less important people, and then there's really not important people at the bottom, okay? And so based on your karma, if you live a good life, then you can be reincarnated. Reincarnated means that you keep living or you're born again into a different life. You could be born into a different person, or you could be born into an animal, or whatever the case is. You can be reborn, and the goal is to kind of break free of this reincarnation cycle. You don't want to continue to be reincarnated, and whenever you break free from that, that's called moksha. So you're free of that reincarnation over and over and over again. Okay, so based on your karma, which is how you live, are you you know what karma is, right? Like if you do good things, then good things will happen back to you. If you do something bad, you could have bad karma, and something bad will happen to you, right? So based on your karma, that's going to determine like who you come back as basically in the next life after you're reincarnated. Okay, and so the goal is to kind of break free of that, and that is moksha at the end of that. Okay, so that's kind of like brief overview of Hinduism. But when we're looking at our map, it's going to start in India. Okay, so zoom in on India, and we're going to draw a circle there. Okay, it's going to start here in India. I'm going to put an H out there so I know. Okay, birthplace is in India. And it's going to start to spread. Okay, we're going to draw a lot of arrows. It's going to spread a little bit to Southeast Asia. And then a little bit more down here. Okay, it's not going to spread too far. Huh? Christianity. Remind me to say that in a second when we get to that one. Okay, so it's going to spread a little bit. Today, currently, the most Hindu followers are in India. Okay, so India's major religion is going to be Hinduism today. Okay, so that is a quick snapshot of Hinduism. The next one we're going to do is Judaism. I'm going to grab my orange. Okay, go back down to your timeline. Judaism is next. Judaism. Okay, and that is about 2000 BC. With Abraham is going to start it. Okay, so with Judaism, zoom in to the Middle East. That's not very clear. Why is it not clear? Don't know why it's not clear. Okay, Judaism. I'm going to start here in the Middle East, okay? There's my J, okay? Judaism is going to start in the Middle East. The thing with Judaism is that they're going to start here in the Middle East, and if you know anything about world history, there's going to be a lot of different empires and groups of people that take over this region. There's always been a lot of conflict in this region because everybody thinks that they have claim to this certain region, okay? So Judaism is going to start here, but it's going to get pushed out several different times based on who what empire is in charge and who's the emperor, and they're gonna get exiled. They have to go to Egypt for a while. The Jewish people do, and then they go back to the Middle East, and they have their camps, or not their camps, their followers, their main people. Okay, they're big. It's not even a village. It's just all of their followers are here in the Middle East. Okay, it's going to spread a little bit to the north, but eventually they're gonna spread to Europe, right? There was a lot of Jewish people in Europe, and then what happens in the 1900s to Jewish people in Europe? Yeah, the Holocaust, right? So currently, after the Holocaust happens, there's not a homeland for the Jewish people before World War II, okay? But at the end of World War II, after Holocaust, they make a Jewish state, like a Jewish country. They give them their homeland, okay? And it's Israel currently, okay? So Israel in the Middle East today is a Jewish state, okay? So their main religion is Judaism, but the problem is that today that's in the middle of a bunch of Islamic states that we'll look at in a second. Okay, but it's in the middle of all of these Islamic states, so there's always a lot of conflict there because it's difference of beliefs. Both religions think that they have claim to that specific part of the land there, and we're gonna look at that once we get back from winter break. We'll start looking at kind of more of the conflict there, but all you need to know right now is that Judaism is going to start here in this area, and it's not going to spread very much, okay? Yeah, okay, next one we're gonna do is Buddhism. So grab a different color and go back down to your timeline. So Buddhism is going to be about 480 BC with Buddha himself. Huh? Buddha, Buddha. Okay, that's who it's going to start with. So with Buddhism, his real name, he wasn't the Buddha at first. His real name was Siddhartha Gautama. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But he noticed that there was a lot of suffering and misery. He grew up like in this wealthy part of the town, and eventually he like breaks through that, and he starts to see common people. He was like on the upper end, right? Like he was rich, he was wealthy, very sheltered. He didn't understand, or he wasn't ever really exposed to what the reality of most people were in his country or his area that he was living in. Okay, so once he kind of experienced or got to see or was exposed to all of this like suffering that people were going through, he was like, well, how can anyone be happy if there's so much suffering and misery? And so his the big idea here is that there are these four like noble truths that you kind of follow, and one of those is the eightfold path of kind of like how you're supposed to act, and you're trying to like find a way to break free from this suffering and from this misery. And once you like reach that point of no more suffering, then that's called nirvana. And so they believe in reincarnation as well, like Hinduism, but there's no caste system. So there's not like different levels of people really. So that's a little bit about Buddhism, but Buddhism is going to start in between like India and China. So my circle is going to be here. Buddhism is going to spread a lot, okay? It's going to go down kind of. It's going to really take over a lot of Asia. And it's going to go up some. It's going to spread north, and it's going to go down the Korean Peninsula and to Japan, okay? And over through Southeast Asia a little bit, okay? So way more arrows than what we have been drawing compared to the first two religions, because it's going to spread, okay? People are going to share it with other people, and this idea is going to spread. Today, the most Buddhist followers are still going to be in East Asia. Okay, next one we're going to do is Christianity. That's next on our timeline. So go back down. We have Christianity. That was around 32 AD. With Jesus' death, okay? So a newer religion. The other three religions were much older. And Christianity is going to start close to where Judaism did. It kind of came out of Judaism. Okay? Whereas Abraham was really the first with Judaism. Christianity believes that Abraham was a prophet, okay? And but then they believe that Jesus was like with Jesus' death, that kind of started Christianity. And so Christianity is going to spread a lot, especially after Jesus' death. They have not just missionaries, but people, disciples is what they're called, who are going to spread the religion very fast across the north of Africa. It's going to spread really fast. And it's going to spread through Europe really fast as well. So these disciples are spreading it because they want to save other people based off of Jesus' teaching of loving everyone, being kind, accepting everyone, turning away from sin. That's a bad arrow. There we go. And so it's going to spread. It's going to spread a lot faster than the other ones. And it's going to take hold through a lot of the like European empires, okay, like the Roman Empire especially. And then it's going to start spreading elsewhere really fast. What happens during the colonialism period? What are the 3 G's? Do you remember? Gold, glory, and God, right? So whenever people start sailing across the Atlantic, when you hear those 3 G's, right? The God part is missionaries, right? Like they're just going to spread their religion. So Europe is very Christian based. In the 1600s, right? 1600s, whenever there's exploration, right? So they start taking their religion with them to all of their new places, okay? So it's going to go to Latin America and South America. It'll eventually get to the U.S. and then spread across. And then fast forward to 17 and 1800s when Europe starts dividing up Africa. and they really start taking over all of the tribes in hopes that they will make converts to Christianity. Okay? They're eventually going to try to take it to India. It's not going to stick because India is still very Hindu, and so they're going to try. Eventually, it'll make its way to Australia from both angles. Okay, so across this way as well. Okay, lots of purple arrows. Yeah. All right, do you have all the purple arrows? Okay, last one we're going to do is Islam. So go back down to your timeline. Islam is going to happen 570 AD with Muhammad. All right, so Islam is going to start with Muhammad, who was born, and he was like the greatest prophet, okay? And also with Islam, it's another Abrahamic faith, okay? So Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all are Abrahamic faiths. Abraham is a prophet in all three of those religions, okay? So they're kind of closely related in that way. It's going to start in the Middle East. Muhammad is born in Mecca. Okay? Born in Mecca. And the idea here is that they believe in one God, okay? They have the 5 pillars. That's what we just saw in the video. Their 5 pillars are that they have to pray 5 times a day. They have to make a pilgrimage to Mecca, which is where our green dot is, at least one time in their life. They believe that Allah is God. What else did I say? Pray 5 times a day. Pilgrimage. They have to give to charity. And the 5th one, is that they fast during Ramadan. Okay? So Islam is going to spread the fastest out of any of the religions. Okay, Christianity spread fast, but Islam's going to spread faster. It's going to really take over the Middle East, and it's going to start taking over North Africa a lot too. Okay, there's going to be a lot of dispute between the Christians and the Muslims called the Crusades. It's going to be a couple hundred years of war, fighting over Spain and North Africa of who's going to take over. Is it going to be primarily Christian or primarily Islamic? And so there's a lot of wars that will be fought. You'll learn all about this in world history next year, okay? But they're going to take over a lot here in the Middle East, okay? And today, that's where the most followers still are, very much in the Middle East and in North Africa, okay? It's going to spread down through India, but it's not going to hold because India is still very Hindu today. But this is how it's going to get to Southeast Asia, where Southeast Asia is very Islamic today as well, too. So lots of followers in Southeast Asia and in the Middle East. Okay? All right. That's it. Take a picture of it, put it on Padlet.